Oh, right. All right. Joining me today is a very special guest. He was a candidate for Georgia's 14th congressional district against Marjorie Taylor Greene. Please welcome to the show, Dr. John Cowan. Dr. Cowan, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Jonathan.
So I just wanted to ask you, I guess, the standard question that everyone gets asked when they run for Congress. Why did you run for Congress?
Well, that's a great question. And as a neurosurgeon, some folks joked, "Did you lose your mind? Is that why you wanted to run?" But no, I've always had a passion to try to serve, and have tried to live a life of service the best I could. And running for Congress or really any elected office is really important. That people with that mindset do, and so I think if we have people that don't want to step forward, we end up with coronations, if you will, and that's not good for our democracy. We need able-bodied men and women to be willing to sacrifice what they're doing and step forward and run. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose.
Yeah, I have to say, like in that campaign last year, many of the guys on the right, including myself, were watching what was going on with absolute horror. Like we were watching you and we were watching, I don't know if I should even say her name. We were watching Marjorie Taylor Greene. The moment that brought her to my attention was not those videos that came out of her saying all of those horrible things, but also it was that moment when she appeared at a rally alongside a white supremacist. I want to make sure I'm recounting what exactly happened exactly correctly. But there's frustration because from that time, because many of us remember that Kevin McCarthy was going to come to your aid and was going to make sure that Marjorie Taylor Greene did not win that primary. That aid never came from what we saw, and she won. Am I recounting that correctly? And what was that like?
Well, look, it's everybody's own responsibility to run their own race and win. So there's really not one individual who could make or break an election for you. So, certainly you never get into something like this wanting to lose. It was frustrating for me that someone from out of the district could come in and potentially win the race when we did have able-bodied folks who did live in the district and really had lived and worked there. And so that was probably the most frustrating thing. But at the end of the day, I follow the rules and follow the Constitution, and the people spoke at that time.
Well, let's talk about the campaign you're in, because you and I have interacted on Twitter before. You have been very critical of Marjorie Taylor Greene. You've also, been critical in respect of former President Trump. Now, but when you ran, you were, I think, initially supportive of him. So I was just curious if anything that happened that sort of made you sour on him.
Well, nothing that really made me sour. I just try to hold people who are in a position of power accountable to the Constitution. And so I was really concerned after November 3rd last year at his behavior toward what by all appearances was a free and fair election. Again, everyone's got a right to adjudicate the results, look at them, investigate them, but everything that's allowed within the Constitution was done. And I just get more and more concerned as it seemed that there were a lot of extra constitutional things being done and tactics being taken for the sake of power, really, rather than the sake of upholding the Constitution. And so, and that, in my mind, culminated on January 6th with him speaking before a group that ultimately came and rioted at the U.S. Capitol. And I just think our Constitution and our country are too important to allow one man to do that just for the sake of being president. Again, our president is not our king. Our president is a leader given immense power by the people, but it certainly can be taken away by the people. And I think that's what's happened. And my biggest problem with now Congresswoman Greene is that she really is a child of that effort, if you will, and really seems to worship the former president in a way that is just not healthy. It's extra constitutional and is not good for our country. And there's no apologies for any methods that were used in that effort. And there's still a recounting of an election that has long since passed, and it's not healthy for our country. And it just shows the dearth of ideas that she has going forward. She has none. She takes her cues from other people and peddles in fear and grievance. And I just don't think that's healthy. I don't think it's going to serve us well long term.
Yeah, no, and so let's talk about MTG, because when she won, some of us, given everything that she said on the record and everything that she's done since, quite frankly, many of us in my circle of friends joke that when she won that primary, it was an R to Q flip. That was the joke that we made. Because you and I have interacted on our Twitter about MTG in particular. Is that a fair assessment, or am I being too hard on her?
No, I don't think it's possible to be too hard on her. Unfortunately, I think she pretty much she deserves everything she gets, and she's feeble-minded and peddles in conspiracy, and she's got a long track record of it, and that's really just the facts. And so I think she's continuing that. She veils it in patriotic words and fighting words, if you will, but most everything she deals in is on the fringes of reality, and no amount of window dressing can really make it palatable, except to folks who really don't bother to look underneath the surface. So, I try to shed some light into some of the things she says. I mean, again, it's the classic con game. It's the classic manipulation game where someone says exactly what you want to hear. They play into your fears. They stoke your desires and ask you to follow them. But the responsible citizen, the responsible person says, well, yeah, I like what you say, but I really need to check you out and make sure this is good. And certainly when I look under her, look under her hood, I'm quite concerned as to what I see. And that's just only backed up by her rhetoric and her action and her disregard for the position which she has unfortunately won.
Yeah, and I just want to say, just jokingly, that I checked my membership in the tribe, and I've come to the conclusion I do not have access to a space laser. I just wanted to make that clear in case anyone was watching who thinks I do have access to a space laser.
That's not one on your shelf back there. That's not a space laser. You sure?
Yeah, no, not at all. Yeah, I checked.
I have Jewish. There's Jewish bloodlines in my wife's family as well, and they too told me no space lasers there. So.
Yeah. I just sometimes I wonder how we get people like people who peddle that sort of stuff to Congress, because it's, from what I've seen, it's not just Marjorie Taylor Greene. There's almost like a QAnon caucus consisting of people like Paul Gosar in Arizona, like Louis Gohmert in Texas, and Matt Gaetz just down in Florida. And I mean, I jokingly point out that all four of those guys, their names start with G. So I jokingly call them the four goblins. But there's also others who traffic in that kind of thing, and plenty of others who are unwilling to say something about it. And so why is it that we keep electing people like her to Congress?
Yeah, I mean, I've really thought a lot about it. I mean, I think the problem is there really is so little disregard for Congress these days, and really probably in the last 50 years that most people are like, we just want to send the biggest grenade thrower we can because the whole place needs to be burned down. I think it's as much of an indictment on what the institution has become as it is on the people electing them. I do think, there's so much money involved in these races. A lot of these races have become nationalized, and certainly a lot of the office holders try to make themselves national figures. And, that it has corrupted the original intent of what a representative was meant to be. I mean, it is supposed to represent your district and your district's issues to the federal government, and do that in a way that hopefully brings people of good conscience and good values to do that, to put the best face forward for your district, and then in turn come back to the district and communicate what's going on in the rest of the country, the concerns and issues there. And I think those fundamental that fundamental function and service has been lost with social media, with the cable news, and folks trying to become more celebrity and less servant leaders. I mean, a great example is, I mean, she's proud of the fact that she's not on a committee, and I mean, again, while that's a interesting way to take a dig at your colleagues or whatever, the fact is you're really useless. I mean, you can be a mouthpiece, but so can an advocate, so can a community organizer, so can any of us. I mean, she's not taking advantage of working within the system to try to fix it, to try to make it better, and certainly not a problem solver, but more of a problem creator.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. And if there's one thing I take hope in it's the fact that when the last member of Congress who was expelled from committees was Steve King in Iowa, who had his own set of issues. And, after he was kicked off his committees, he finally got primaried by Randy Feenstra. And so if there's anything that gives me hope, it's that it's that Marjorie Taylor Greene could potentially meet the same fate. And if Republicans take control of Congress next year, perhaps equally as horrific figures on the left like Ilhan Omar and AOC could potentially meet the same fate.
Well, that's right. Look, this is not a problem that's unique to the Republican Party. It's, you've got the 5% fringes on either side of the party, and she just so happens to be in my district and more acutely in my sphere, but certainly folks on the Democratic side are equally egregious, and particularly in the Jewish community. Isn't it interesting that everyone on the fringe always seems to be going after the Jewish community? That should be a real. I mean, if anything should be a litmus test, that should be it. The second you get a whiff of that kind of garbage, we need to get those folks out. I mean, it's just
exactly
just disgusting. Yeah.
I 100% agree with you. And I guess I might as well just ask the question that I think has been on my mind for a while. Are you going to run again?
We're still thinking about it. It is a big commitment of time, energy, talent to do so. I've got to talk about it with my family some more. We're redistricting too, and those lines, because of COVID, have gotten delayed. So normally we would have found out a couple months ago, and those lines still aren't out. So I actually care about who and what I would be representing. So I'd like to see, what that geography looks like, and who's there, and do I reflect the values of the people that I would be stepping forward to serve. So I'm certainly going to wait before I give a hard yay or nay until those district lines come out and see. But I'm going to stay active. I've found a good voice working to try to get people vaccinated. I've tried to go out to prisons and go to county fairs and various things and encourage people to get vaccinated online. I'm pretty vocal about the importance of that, and try to stamp out any misinformation when I see it. I think that's really the most harmful thing in the vaccination effort, is just people peddling, just like they peddle in fear in politics, peddle in disinformation is equally harmful.
No, I 100% agree with you. And if you decide you're going to run again, I'll definitely want to have you back to get you on the record about the various issues. But I guess I'll just have one more question before I let you go. It's as you well know, in 2020, for the first time, I think in 28 years, Republicans lost the state of Georgia. And in just the 2 years before that, we lost 2 House seats as well. And so I'm sort of wondering, is What would be your advice to the next Republican nominee in 2024 to make sure that Georgia goes red again?
Well, look, Georgia is fundamentally a conservative state. It is. It just happened to run into a situation where Trump was actively going after our governor. Our governor was very popular. We had folks peddling in fear, like Marjorie Greene, who said that your vote was stolen, and so don't even bother to vote. I mean, essentially, that's what I was saying. If you look at our district, we had a huge drop off in turnout between the general election and the two Senate runoffs. I mean, that right there did it. I mean, our folks just didn't show up for one reason or the other. So I think if us Republicans can get a candidate who gets back to traditional conservative issues, doesn't peddle in fear or grievance, someone who says, look, we've got free market solutions, limited government solutions. We do believe in life and liberty and the pursuit of happiness. Georgia will be red. I mean, it's inherently a red state, and we just need to have the right candidate with the right message on the ballot.
Dr. Cowan, thank you so much for joining me. We await your candidacy announcement in the near future.
I appreciate it. And being such a young guy, you were, I appreciate your passion and your love for trying to make this a better world. So God bless you.
Thank you.